They erased her name from the list, yet her approval alone would decide if the reunion ever happened. At a sleek cafe in Beverly Hills, Victoria Hayes scrolled her iPad like she was dealing cards. Each tap crowned someone worthy or erased them forever. "Monica Johnson," she scoffed. "The scholarship girl? Always hiding in secondhand clothes? She'd ruin the photo line. Delete her." Laughter spread around the table. A name was gone in seconds, with the kind of cruelty that feels casual to those who deliver it. Weeks later, the same women gasped inside a Malibu palace of glass and ocean. The manager's voice was calm. "Yes, the owner approves all bookings. Mrs. Monica Johnson Carter." And silence crashed down. What happens when the girl they erased now owns everything they desire? You won't want to miss the answer. Subscribe now and drop your guess. Will she say yes, or will she shut the door? Back then, Monica Johnson never walked into school unnoticed, yet she was treated as if she didn't exist. She sat in the front row every morning, her notebooks clean, her answers always ready. But what her classmates noticed was not her brilliance. It was her clothes. The same faded sweater on Monday, the same skirt again on Thursday. The whispers spread before the bell even rang. Didn't she wear that yesterday? Maybe her mom shops at the thrift bin. Laughter followed her down the hallway like a shadow she could not shake. While others flashed brand new sneakers and handbags, Monica clutched the same worn backpack, its zipper hanging loose. She kept her eyes on her books, never on them. She was there, always prepared, always capable. Yet to them she was invisible, a reminder of the world outside their privilege. And, with every cruel laugh, the gap between Monica and her classmates grew wider. One afternoon, Monica sat across from her guidance counselor, clutching the forms for college applications. Her eyes lit up when she spoke the name of her dream, Harvard. The counselor's smile was polite but tight. She folded her hands and leaned in as if delivering wisdom. "Girls like you should aim lower," she said softly, almost kindly. "Try the community college first. Ivy League isn't realistic." The words landed heavier than any laughter in the hallway. Monica's test scores were top of the class. Her science fair project had beaten state records. Yet in that office, none of it seemed to matter. The message was clear. Her background, her skin, her lack of money, those were the limits they saw. Not her talent, not her drive. Monica walked out with the same stack of papers, but something had shifted. If doors would not open for her, she would force them open herself. The proof of her brilliance should have been impossible to ignore. That year, Monica won first place at the state science fair with a project that caught the attention of real tech companies. Her teachers called it groundbreaking. But when the school newsletter came out, the front page told a different story. Smiling in glossy photos was Victoria Hayes and her friends, celebrated for organizing a charity fashion show. Headlines praised their style and leadership. Monica's achievement? Pushed to page 3. A short paragraph tucked beside the cafeteria menu. No photo, no headline, just a line or two that most students never even read. She stared at the folded paper in her hands, the ink smudging slightly under her fingers. For everyone else, that week's story was about gowns and glitter. For Monica, it was the message she'd already heard too many times. Your success will always matter less than their spotlight. While others spent their nights at parties or scrolling through magazines, Monica lived inside the lab. The hum of old computers was her soundtrack. The glow of a desk lamp was her only spotlight. She soldered wires with steady hands. She typed lines of code until her eyes burned. Empty coffee cups piled beside textbooks marked with notes and formulas. Every problem solved pushed her further, even when no one was watching. Midnight turned into dawn more times than she could count. Yet she kept showing up, driven by the quiet belief that she was building her way out. One cold morning, a thin envelope arrived in the mail. Her hands trembled as she tore it open. The words jumped off the page. "Congratulations. Welcome to Harvard University." For the first time, Monica smiled without hesitation. Against every doubt, every whisper, every dismissal, she had carved her own door and walked straight through it. In the crowded Harvard lab, surrounded by humming machines and the sharp smell of solder, Monica met the one person who didn't see her as invisible. His name was David Carter. He wasn't impressed by glossy resumes or expensive suits. He noticed the determination in her eyes, the way she refused to give up when the code failed or the circuit sparked. While others dismissed her, David leaned closer. "Show me how you did that," he asked, genuine curiosity in his voice. Hours turned into nights as they worked side by side. They laughed over broken prototypes, shared late-night coffee, and argued passionately about solutions only to end up smiling at each other's stubbornness. For Monica, it was unfamiliar, someone valuing her mind, not mocking her clothes. For David, it was undeniable. This woman carried fire in her quiet strength. In that lab, between wires and worn-out textbooks, the first spark of love began to glow. The cafe smelled of roasted beans and perfume, a stage where Victoria Hayes sat like a director running her cast. Her iPad lay open on the table, glowing with names and notes. "Ladies, this reunion has to scream success," she declared, her tone sharp enough to cut glass. "Only the right people get in. We're not inviting mediocrity." Rebecca leaned in, eager. "Definitely add Dr. Pierce, plastic surgeon, Beverly Hills. He'll raise the bar." Ashley smirked. "And leave out the small-timers. No one wants to sip champagne next to failures." The others nodded, trained to agree. Each name they circled was a ticket to prestige. Each name they crossed off was erased like it had never mattered. Victoria tapped the screen with satisfaction. "We're curating an audience, not just planning a party." The table buzzed with approval, blind to the arrogance dripping from every word. For them, exclusivity wasn't cruelty, it was power. Victoria scrolled until one name appeared, her lips curling into a smirk. "Monica Johnson." She read aloud, then let the silence hang for effect. Rebecca raised an eyebrow. "She was in our class, right? The quiet one?" Victoria's laugh was sharp, dismissive. "Not her. She doesn't belong here. Can you imagine the photos? Her standing next to us in that bargain bin wardrobe? It would be awkward for everyone." Ashley snorted, covering her mouth as if even the thought was embarrassing. Katie and Michelle exchanged nervous giggles. No one objected. Victoria tapped the screen, deleting the name with a flick of her manicured finger. It was done in less than 3 seconds. A whole person, erased with the same effort it takes to swipe away a notification. The women moved on, sipping lattes, never noticing how cold their laughter sounded. What felt like nothing to them was everything to the girl they had just excluded again. Engines purred as a line of sleek cars climbed the winding Malibu road. Inside each, the women adjusted designer sunglasses and whispered with excitement. The gates of Crown Cliff rose before them, iron, gold-tipped, towering like the entrance to another world. Beyond, they caught glimpses of glass walls flashing in the sun and the endless blue of the Pacific. Rebecca pressed her face closer to the window. "It's even bigger than the magazine said." Ashley's voice quivered with glee. "This is it, the crown jewel. Once people see us here, they'll never forget it." Victoria straightened her blazer, lips tight with satisfaction. "Exactly. This place will define us." The convoy stopped at the gate, engines humming in unison, hearts pounding with the thrill of arriving. For them, this mansion wasn't just a venue. It was proof that they had climbed higher than everyone else, and they had no idea whose home they were about to enter. The doors of Crown Cliff swung open, and the women stepped into a world built for the elite. The foyer stretched like a cathedral, walls of glass framing the ocean as if it were a private painting. Marble floors gleamed beneath their heels, each step echoing with the sound of wealth. Rebecca gasped at the art gallery lining the corridor, sculptures lit by soft spotlights, canvases worth more than cars. Ashley whispered, almost breathless, "Every inch screams money." They followed the manager into the living room where glass walls slid apart, blending indoors with the salt air outside. Beyond, an infinity pool spilled into the horizon, the Pacific glittering like liquid silver. Downstairs, a cellar opened into rows of vintage bottles, labels older than they were. "Imagine the photos," Victoria murmured, already picturing herself holding a crystal flute. For them, this mansion wasn't just beautiful, it was a declaration, a promise that their reunion would shine above everyone else's. As the manager guided them through the lounge, a young black staff member walked by carrying a tray of glasses. Ashley snapped her fingers without hesitation. "Hey, sweetheart, bring me sparkling water, chilled, and hurry." The staffer paused, her eyes steady, voice calm but firm. "My name is Amara. I'm here to assist the event manager, not to fetch drinks." For a moment, silence filled the room. Rebecca shifted uncomfortably. Victoria forced a laugh, brushing it off. "Oh, don't be so sensitive. We're all busy here." But the sting hung in the air. The dismissive tone, the assumption that service equaled servitude. It was the same casual cruelty that once pushed Monica aside, now reflected in real time, a mirror of the past they had never learned from. Would you have spoken up if you were there, or stayed quiet like the rest? The group followed Linda, the estate manager, into the grand dining hall. She paused by the long oak table, her voice steady and professional. "One important note," she said. "The owner requires inclusive guest lists for every event hosted here. No selective exclusions. It's part of the estate policy." Victoria's brow arched, almost amused. "Inclusive?" she repeated, as if the word itself were foreign. Ashley waved her hand dismissively. "That won't be a problem. We just want the best of the best." Rebecca smirked. "Of course. We're not planning to invite everyone." Their laughter rose again, shallow and sharp, before fading into the echo of the marble walls. Linda didn't push further. She only nodded politely, scribbling a note on her tablet. The rule had been spoken clearly, yet the women brushed it aside as if it meant nothing. They didn't realize that ignoring it would soon cost them everything. The tour ended in the sunlit living room, glass walls opening to the sea. Victoria, glowing with pride, pulled out her checkbook. The others leaned in, eager to watch her seal the deal. Linda glanced at her tablet, confirming the date. Her tone was calm, almost routine. "Yes, October 15th is available. I'll just need final approval from the owner, Mrs. Monica Johnson Carter." The words sliced through the air like broken glass. Victoria froze, pen hovering above the page. Her manicured hand trembled. Rebecca's phone slipped from her fingers. Ashley's mouth fell open. Katie and Michelle exchanged wide-eyed stares, silent and pale. The name echoed in the marble room, Monica Johnson. The same girl they had erased without a thought. The same girl they mocked, excluded, dismissed. And now, she wasn't just on the list. She owned the list. She owned everything they wanted. Victoria's pen never touched the paper. The name hit them harder than any wave outside the glass walls. Monica Johnson Carter. In an instant, memories resurfaced. Hallways filled with whispered jokes. The scholarship girl with the second-hand shoes. The one who ate alone at the corner table. Rebecca remembered rolling her eyes when Monica raised her hand in class, muttering, "Overachiever." Ashley recalled the day Monica walked past in that worn-out sweater, and they burst into laughter loud enough for her to hear. Victoria remembered every dismissal, every time she made sure Monica was left out. None of them had thought twice back then. To them, Monica was a shadow, a reminder of a world they didn't respect. Now the shadow had become the owner of the most coveted house in Malibu. The cruelty they once delivered so casually returned like a mirror, forcing them to see who they had been all along. Victoria's face drained of color, but she forced a tight smile. Her pen hovered above the page like nothing had happened. "Monica Johnson Carter?" she said quickly, her voice too sharp, too high. "It must be a coincidence. Johnson is a common name, surely not our Monica." Rebecca's laugh cracked in the silence, nervous and thin. "Right, probably someone else. A different Johnson." Ashley added, "Yes, no way the scholarship girl ends up here. Owning this?" Her tone tried to sound convincing, but her eyes betrayed her doubt. The denial circled the room like a fragile shield, each woman clinging to the idea that their past cruelty could never give way to such power. Victoria gripped her pen harder, whispering to herself, "It's not her. It can't be her." But deep inside, they all felt the same chill. They knew the truth had already arrived, waiting for them to face it. Victoria sat in her spotless home office, the checkbook still open on the desk. Her phone lay heavy in her hand, the number glowing on the screen. For the first time in years, her confidence cracked. She pressed call. The ring echoed louder than her own heartbeat. "Hello, this is Monica," came the calm voice on the other end. Victoria's tone flipped into fake sweetness. "Monica? Oh my goodness, it's been forever. This is Victoria Hayes, from high school. Do you remember me?" A pause. Then Monica's voice, steady and measured. "Yes, Victoria. I remember." Victoria forced a laugh. "Well, we're organizing our big 20-year reunion, and we absolutely adore your estate. We'd love to host the event there. It would mean so much." Her words tumbled out too fast, too polished. Behind every syllable hid desperation, fear, and the bitter taste of knowing she was begging the girl she once erased. On the other end of the line, Monica didn't rush. Her silence stretched, steady and deliberate, forcing Victoria to fill the space with nervous chatter. "We'd treat your home with the utmost respect," Victoria insisted. "It would be such an honor. everyone would be so impressed. Finally, Monica spoke. Her tone was calm, even, almost professional. "I'll think about it." Just 5 words. Simple, polite, yet they carried more weight than any insult Victoria had ever thrown. Victoria blinked, caught off guard. She had expected excitement, gratitude, maybe even awe. Instead, she got a door half open, held firmly in Monica's hand. Of course, Victoria stammered, her voice too bright, too eager. "Take all the time you need." When the call ended, Victoria's smile collapsed. For the first time, she realized the truth. Monica owed her nothing, and whether the reunion lived or died now rested entirely in Monica's choice. 3 days passed, each one heavier than the last. Victoria sat at her desk, eyes locked on her phone. She refreshed her inbox every 5 minutes, nails tapping against the glass. No call, no email, nothing. The silence gnawed at her, louder than any rejection. Across town, Monica's days looked different. She stood in a bright classroom guiding a group of young girls through circuits and coding projects. Their laughter filled the air as sparks lit tiny bulbs. Monica leaned down, encouraging a shy student. "See? You did it. You belong here." While Victoria spiraled, terrified of losing her perfect stage, Monica was shaping futures. While Victoria measured her worth in Instagram envy, Monica was giving power to children who once looked just like her. The contrast was stark, almost cruel in its clarity. One woman clung to appearances, the other had built substance, and only one of them held the power to decide what came next. On the 4th evening, Victoria's phone finally lit up. She nearly dropped it in her rush to answer. Monica's voice was calm, steady, impossible to read. "I've considered your request." Victoria held her breath. "I'll allow the reunion at Crown Cliff," Monica continued, "under 2 conditions. First, a $100,000 scholarship fund set aside for underprivileged girls pursuing science and technology. Second, every single member of our graduating class receives an invitation. No exclusions." The words slammed into Victoria like cold water. Rebecca, listening on speaker, gasped. Ashley whispered, "100,000?" as if the number itself was unthinkable. Victoria's throat tightened. This wasn't the simple yes she had expected. It was a demand wrapped in justice, a mirror held up to all the years they had spent dividing, excluding, looking down. She forced a shaky laugh. "That's quite a condition." But inside, panic churned. For the first time, they weren't the ones setting the rules. The women gathered in Victoria's living room, wine glasses trembling in their hands. The glow of the Malibu estate brochure sat on the coffee table, almost mocking them. Victoria broke the silence first. "If we do this, we lose everything. The exclusivity, the prestige. It'll look like a charity event, not the reunion of the year." Ashley leaned forward, eyes sharp. "But without Monica's approval, we have no venue. Do you want to end up in a country club ballroom?" Rebecca shook her head. $100,000? That's insane. We shouldn't have to pay her to prove anything. Katie whispered, "Maybe it's not about proving. Maybe it's about making it right." Victoria's glare shut her down instantly. "No, this reunion is about us, not her. We deserve the spotlight." The room fell into bitter silence, each woman torn between vanity and survival. For the first time, the masks of confidence cracked, revealing just how fragile their power really was. The tension thickened until Rebecca's voice cut through. Her words were sharp, dripping with the same venom from years ago. "Why should we spend $100,000 because of her? She was nothing back then, and now she thinks she can buy respect." The room went silent. Even Ashley flinched. Katie stared at the floor, shame burning on her face. Victoria didn't correct Rebecca, she didn't dare, but the words hung in the air like poison. The ugliness of the past, spoken out loud in the present. For a moment, none of them looked at each other. Because deep down, they knew the truth. This wasn't just about money. It was about power, about facing the girl they had pushed aside, now holding all the cards. "And here's the question for you. If you were Monica, would you give them a second chance? Or let them drown in the same cruelty they once showed you?" A week later, the committee met again, paperwork scattered across Victoria's dining table. Ashley scrolled through her laptop, then froze. Her face drained of color. "You need to see this." She turned the screen around. The scholarship fund Monica demanded wasn't just a line item. The official paperwork listed the sponsor, the Carter Foundation. Rebecca gasped. "Wait, Carter? As in David Carter, her husband? Ashley nodded, her voice trembling. It's one of the biggest philanthropic organizations in the country. Education, tech grants, global recognition. This isn't just a fund. It's their legacy. The room cracked into panic. If they refused, they weren't just snubbing Monica, they were rejecting a foundation tied to billions in influence. If they agreed, they were no longer hosts of an exclusive event. They were players in Monica's story. Victoria clenched her jaw. For the first time, she understood. This wasn't about a reunion anymore. This was a stage, and Monica had written the script. That same evening, Monica sat by the tall windows of Crown Cliff, the ocean glowing under the moonlight. Her fingers traced the rim of her teacup as a memory returned, one she had tried to bury. Senior year. The prestigious student club that promised networking, scholarships, doors opening everywhere. Monica had applied, pouring her heart into the essay. Her grades were flawless, her science awards unmatched, but on decision day, the letter was short and cold. We regret to inform you. She remembered walking past the celebration in the courtyard, where Victoria and her friends laughed in their matching jackets. One had sneered, "Did you really think they'd let you in? Wrong kind of girl, Monica." Now, decades later, she was the one holding the power to open, or close, the door. The pain lingered, but so did the triumph. She had built a life far beyond their walls. The circle had closed, and this time, Monica wasn't the one on the outside. Victoria slammed her glass onto the table, the red wine trembling inside. Her voice was sharp, cutting through the anxious whispers. Enough. We don't need her. We don't need her house, her money, or her ridiculous conditions. This is our reunion, and we'll make it grand without her. Rebecca exchanged a wary glance with Ashley. But Victoria, every venue worth anything is already booked. Victoria waved her off, eyes burning with pride. We'll find somewhere. People will still come. For us. They always have. But her words rang hollow. Beneath the confidence was desperation, the kind only the others could hear. They knew she was clinging to a power that was slipping through her fingers. For Victoria, admitting defeat to Monica was worse than failure itself. Better to host a lesser party than surrender control. Her arrogance filled the room like smoke, thick, suffocating, and blind to the collapse waiting just ahead. Across town, Monica closed her laptop with a soft click. The screen still glowed with the scholarship proposal draft. Numbers, deadlines, and names of young students who would finally have the chances she once fought for. She leaned back in her chair, a calm smile tugging at her lips. The chaos brewing in Victoria's circle wasn't her burden. She had already decided where her energy belonged, lifting others, not fighting old ghosts. Outside her window, the garden lights shimmered against the night air. David walked past with a wave, his presence grounding her. Monica picked up a folder labeled Carter Scholars, reviewing applications filled with hope and ambition. There was no gloating, no need for revenge, only peace in knowing she had risen above, and that true power wasn't measured in exclusive parties, it was in choosing where to shine your light. For Monica, the reunion was already irrelevant. She had built her own. The reunion finally happened. Not at Crown Cliff, but in a bland country club hall with beige walls and chandeliers that looked borrowed from a discount catalog. The carpet smelled faintly of bleach, the kind of place more suited for retirement luncheons than a milestone celebration. Victoria tried to hold her head high, greeting guests with forced cheer, but the murmurs were unavoidable. "I thought this would be at that Malibu estate," one whispered. Another scanned the plain buffet table and frowned. The illusion of exclusivity was gone. No infinity pool, no ocean view, no glamour to flaunt on Instagram. Just folding chairs, lukewarm champagne, and small talk that felt heavier than the room itself. Even her closest friends avoided her eyes, their smiles brittle. For all the effort and posturing, the night felt ordinary, painfully so. Victoria had promised magic. Instead, she delivered mediocrity, and everyone could feel it. Later that night, the photos hit social media. Victoria posted a carousel. Group shots by the country club fountain, a few blurry candids of people laughing, and a forced toast over half-empty glasses. She typed a caption dripping with fake glamour. Unforgettable night with the best of the best. # reunion. Blessed. But the response was ice cold. A handful of likes trickled in, mostly from old classmates who couldn't make it. Comments were generic. Looks fun. Wish I was there. No buzz, no envy, no viral sparkle. Scrolling through her feed, Victoria's smile faltered. The posts didn't stand out. They blended in with birthday dinners and PTA events. The reunion that was supposed to scream status had barely whispered, and the silence of the internet cut deeper than any insult. For a woman who lived for validation, the indifference stung worse than open ridicule. While the reunion limped along in that dull ballroom, Monica stood before a small crowd in the front row of a university auditorium. Beside her, a trembling young black student clutched a sealed envelope. Monica placed a steady hand on her shoulder, her voice firm yet tender. "Education opened doors they tried to slam in my face," she said. "Tonight, I want to make sure no one slams them on yours." The student tore open the envelope, eyes widening as she read the words. Carter Foundation Scholarship, $100,000. Tears spilled. The audience rose in applause. Monica smiled, not for cameras, not for status, but for the joy of lifting another girl higher. In that moment, power didn't look like marble floors or infinity pools. It looked like opportunity passed forward, dignity restored, and a future rewritten in real time. The kind of legacy no shallow reunion could ever touch. After the applause faded, the young girl stayed by Monica's side, clutching the scholarship letter as if it were a lifeline. Her voice trembled when she whispered, "Mrs. Carter, do you think I could ever get into Harvard?" The question pierced through the noise of the room. Monica paused, her chest tightening with the memory of teachers who once told her to aim lower. She knelt so her eyes met the girl's, her tone steady but heavy with emotion. "They told me I didn't belong there either," Monica said softly, "but I proved them wrong, and so will you." The girl's lips quivered into a smile, eyes brimming with hope. A few in the audience wiped away tears, moved by the quiet power of a woman who turned pain into a promise for the next generation. Sometimes the strongest answer is simply, "Yes, you can." The sun dipped low over Crown Cliff, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose. Monica stood by the infinity pool, the ocean stretching endlessly beyond. David slipped his arm around her waist. Their children laughed nearby, while the scholarship students clinked glasses with them, wide-eyed at the view. No bitterness, no revenge, only peace. Monica raised her glass, her voice steady yet warm. The best victories aren't about proving others wrong. They're about building a life filled with love, dignity, and purpose, and lifting others with you. The group toasted, their reflections shimmering on the water, a symbol of legacy passed forward. And here's the truth. Sometimes justice doesn't roar. It whispers, quietly reshaping the world. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs a reminder of their worth. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories of resilience, justice, and hope. What would you have done in Monica's place?